G'day and welcome to another Voice Essentials vocal analysis. My name is Dr. Dan and today we are going to be doing a comparative analysis of the undeniably amazing Dimash. Now, in looking at two performances today, what we're going to do is gain some insight into the impact on a singer's voice that I would describe as fatigue. Now, in no way are we going to be calling into question Dimash's amazing ability. We're not calling into question his technique. His technique is wonderful. He's a highly skilled, crafted musician, and he's someone that I personally appreciate the tremendous ability and talent that he shows us and provides us with. And so none of that's going to be called into question. Because when we talk about vocal fatigue, we're not talking about someone being less than. We're talking about the impact of vocal load and vocal dose on the human voice. And last time I checked, Dimash is human, freakishly so, but human nonetheless. So we're going to be listening for the impact of vocal fatigue on his core tone. It's going to come through as breathiness. Now, many of you are, I think, understandably going to want to suggest that what we hear in the second performance is simply an aesthetic choice, stylistically using breath to colour. And he is doing that, there's no question, and he does it really well. But I personally think the reason he's needing to do it is because there is some fatigue in the voice. We hear that in both the onset and offset of the phrase, the way the voice is able to commence phonation and the way it's able to release phonation. We're going to unpack this as we go along. We're also going to hear it, I think, at times in his transitions, where we're going to hear it in the way he needs to manage his lower notes. There's one moment in the second performance where he actually talks the bottom note, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. And then we hopefully will have opportunity to talk about a thing called phonatory threshold pressure, PTP. And what happens with a fatigued voice is it requires an increase in pressure, what's called subglottal pressure, to activate and engage the musculature of the vocal folds to commence phonation. I think we hear a bit of that as we're going along. Again, this does not question his technique. And if anything, it actually reinforces how good he is, that he's able to still create a marvelous performance, as we'll see in both performances. But in the second one, we still hear Dimash at his amazing best. It's just, I think, a voice that has had to carry a bit of load. Let's talk about it all as we go along. Let's start with the first performance, and then we'll kick into the rest of the analysis.
Sound check.
In this first performance, I want you to listen for how clean the commencement of the tone is. Hear how the voice is able to simultaneously onset the sound. And it completes the sound at the end of the phrase. Notice how he's able to glide into that low note. There's no sense of stress or concern that the voice is going to be able to move through that bottom register. It's not only the top that is affected by fatigue. You can also hear in this one how those upper register notes are held really cleanly and lightly. He's not having to load it to initiate the tone. I think we might hear something slightly different in the second performance, which we'll go to now. So have a listen to the way the voice wants to commence the tone and release the tone. And again, this could be aesthetic choice, but I don't think we're getting the same level of energy in the shaping of the vocal tract. This could be simply that he's evolved. This performance we're watching now is 4 to 5 years after the first performance. And so he's done this probably countless times since 2017 and before that. So naturally a performer wants to evolve a performance, otherwise they themselves get a bit bored with it. And so there's that artistic evolution that can happen here.
Pourquoi je ris, pourquoi je pleure. Voici le SOS d'un terrien en détresse.
So we're hearing that breathiness, the breathy onset and the breathy offset. Again, these can be aesthetic choices. And in fact, I think it is an aesthetic choice, but it's being made for a reason above and beyond simply style. I think there's a reason he's having to manage his voice skillfully. Hear that bottom note? He had to really drop into that. It's bigger. Now you go, well, that would suggest that it's not got any fatigue attached to it. No, it's bigger because he's got to support it with an increase in phonatory threshold pressure, which causes a higher level of shearing force of the vocal folds. So there's more body of the vocal folds coming together and giving us a bigger tone. It's not able to be as gentle and light. Big, loud singing is easier for the voice to do than light, soft, measured singing. Always remember that. Let's go back and just have a listen to there's moments of onset, offset again. Have a listen. I love the swagger of the hand in the pocket. And he has to really lean into the note to maintain it. Otherwise, it's going to fall off again on him. Now, let's go back to the first performance. We're going to jump into the midpoint of the first performance, just so we can hear what is the voice needing to do around those transitional movements. The ease here. He doesn't have to work for it in this moment. It's an emotive response. That's great. There's so much to enjoy about this performance. I have done a full vocal analysis on this particular performance, so make sure you check it out. So let's now have a watch of what the voice is needing to do in the second performance to manage what I think is some fatigue. Hear how the tone is fuller. And can I just say, as we continue, I actually prefer this midsection to the first. I think it's more, it has a fuller tone. It has a sense of more maturity in the tone. We could be mistaken in saying, well, that's because he's aged. I don't think so. I think, when he did this 2017, I think he's around about 22, 23. This is about 4 or 5 years later. So he's now about 27, 28. We don't see a big change in the voice age-wise from that point of view. The voice is fully mature from the age of about 28 to early 30s is when we reach full maturity with our laryngeal mechanism. But that being said, I don't think it's purely an age thing. It certainly can be an experience thing, a performance thing. But I do like the warmth, the fullness that the voice is gaining. Again, I think because of the impact of the fatigue, the voice has had a little bit of responsive swelling that is protective of the vocal folds that he, again, is skillfully managing.
Quand deux envies te métamorphoses, je sens quelque chose qui m'attire, oh yeah.
Now that's interesting, isn't it? There's that spoken part. I don't know that he's fully confident that the voice is going to get down to where it needs to from a sung tone level. So he makes a choice here, very clever indeed, to speak through it. And it then allows him to reinitiate back into the activation of the vocal folds for sung tone. Let's go back, just have a listen to what he does there, because he's clever. Big note, and here comes the spoken value. So let's now have a listen to how the voice is going to behave in the finishing of the piece. Having done all of that acrobatics, and he's doing acrobatics and working a full vocal range, amazing vocal range across both performances. Let's have a listen to how the voice has coped throughout. He's able to get down to that low note. Listen to the clean tone. Onset and offset. The voice is able to get to the onset a lot cleaner, and it's a clean offset. Okay, now let's jump to the second one and have a listen to what we hear in the second performance. Again, this is the voice coming into land. Great riff and run there. Now, if I might be so bold as to suggest, he had to actually, from what I observed, increase the subglottal pressure to carry the note, to do that bigger one, that I don't think we saw the same level of loading in the first performance. You can go back and check it out yourself. And let me know in the comments section below what you hear, what you see. But that's what I think I'm seeing. That's peculiar. I don't know why this is, but what's really peculiar about that little section is for some reason we're hearing the room recording in that moment. It's quite different, and I don't know why that might be.
Pourquoi je
Now, all of this could be simply theatrics again. Yes, it can be stylistic choice. I get the sense that he's just having to work that little bit harder in this performance. Still producing a great result. I'm really wanting to make sure you're hearing me clearly. In no way, shape or form am I questioning his skill. He is amazing. I'll say it again. He is amazing. But he is human, and he has human biology, and human biology fatigues. And as a professional singer, he's had to learn, how do I manage that? He's doing an A-grade job of managing his fatigue, but I think there's fatigue nonetheless. He's also got great mic technique. And this is where we hear that onset offset issue. Credit where credit's due, is able to hold that offset in that last moment. So there you go. That is my comparative analysis of Dimash. He's amazing. I know there's going to be a lot of fans watching this. Now, in relationship to the thumbnail, is Dimash's voice fading? No, I don't think it's fading, but I do think we get to hear the impact of vocal fatigue on the voice. And remembering where these are moments in time, and almost certainly his response to his own vocal fatigue will be exactly what our response would need to be, and that is vocal rest. The challenge for ones like Dimash, professional singers, particularly uber famous ones like Dimash, is that constant, unrelenting schedule of voice use. Dimash has continued to sing well after 2022, and I know he's still singing well because he is a A-grade professional. He's crafted his musicianship. His technique is undeniably awesome. And but I hope today's vocal analysis, comparative analysis, has been helpful in giving us some insights into the challenges that ones like Dimash face whenever they step onto the stage. Be kind with your comments. Be courteous. I will be reading them and I will respond courteously, but make sure you really give some consideration to what I've said. I know it might stick in your craw a little, but I do hope you take it with the intention that it is given, and that is one of education, but also one with humility. I'm just like Dimash, I'm human. I might be getting this wrong, and I look forward to reading your comments in the comments section below. But until you see me in the next vocal analysis, hopefully you'll stick around. Make sure you subscribe. I'm Dr. Dan. Sing well.